So again, welcome this evening to the Meet the Candidates night here. We're going to get underway with the Bucyrus City Council at-large candidates. I'm going to have them each introduce themselves first, and then we'll move on to opening statements. But first, just with an introduction for who you are, please.
Okay, my name is Mark McKeever. I am currently your City Council at large.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Myers, also a current City Councilman at large.
My name is Carl Eichler. I'm a candidate for City Council at large.
At this time, I would please like to start with Mr. McKeever and just give a general overstatement, if you will, on why you are seeking a council at large seat for the city.
As I originally ran for 4 years ago, I wanted to see what I could do to make sure things are going the way the citizens want. I want to represent the city at large, trying to make it better, trying to make it worthwhile for the citizens. That's mainly why I'm running.
The reason that I initially ran was I wanted to be involved. I wanted to try to make a difference. I think that, you know, as you look and see the things that are going on around you within your community, we've got a lot to be proud of here, but there's a lot more we can do. And so that caused me to get involved, and I've really enjoyed my first term, and hopefully looking forward to a second term.
I just think I bring some new ideas to the city. I didn't quite like the way a few things have been going. I thought I could give some of my own ideas.
So we'll get underway with the questions here. Unlike many council members who maybe have a specific district or ward that they represent, how do you plan to represent the entire city and all Bucyrus residents? And we will start with Mr. Myers.
Yeah, like James, like you said, the difference is, you know, each of the ward councilmen represents certain lines on a map, and the council persons at large represent all 4 wards. I really don't see it as being a lot different. You know, it mainly opens up the number of people that feel like they can call you to the entire city versus just one of the 4 corners of town. But I think that, you know, listening to what the people have to say and then providing them some answers. Many times they'll call or email with questions that really don't pertain to council, but I still feel it's our job to try to direct them or help them find the right answer, and we'll continue to do that.
I just think I could put out some ideas and see what the people, what their reactions are to them, and go from there. I don't see really any other way to do it besides listen to what the people have to say.
You know, kind of hard to top what both of them said, but they're basically saying the same thing as we want to represent everybody. We're not here just for my area, which is South Poplar, which I'm only 2 blocks away from Kevin, but it doesn't matter where we're at. We're here to represent everybody in the city, and that's why I'm here. I just hope I'm here to make a difference for everybody, and I'm available. My phone number's available, everybody's available. We're all ready to answer any of your questions.
To kind of piggyback off that idea, council itself is made up of multiple members, as we said, and how do you believe that you can work with people who have differing viewpoints, different political affiliations, different agendas for the city?
Well, I think we just get together and throw ideas at each other and talk it out, and I mean, that's really the only way to do it. I mean, you just put your own ideas in, listen to the people, and you go from there.
Different ideas doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You know, if I have a differing viewpoint than you do, that gives each of us the opportunity to learn why each other feels the way we do, and maybe one of us changes our opinion, maybe we meet in the middle, we compromise. I think that's what this country is founded on, and we've gotten away from that. And I think at the local level, it's still very easy to work with people no matter what political affiliation they are. That you just really, we know that we're all 7 of us on council are there for the exact same reason. And if we keep that in mind and continue to work together towards that end goal, then we're all gonna do just fine.
Again, they take everything out. Again, I agree. We got to bounce ideas off each other. We talked to even representatives from the media, and we bounce ideas off, and we get input from other citizens, and that's what we're here for. We need the input, and we bring up our suggestions, even from the citizens. We want more participation, and we got to work together. That's the only way we're going to get anything done. We're a small community. We have a limited budget. We have to make do with what we got. We got to try to improve on that. We like to grow, but we can't grow if we don't have other ideas. We got to get better suggestions. We got to get input and be willing to listen and offer ideas and work together.
In your opinion, what is the biggest issue the city currently faces, and how do you hope to address that issue should you be elected?
One of the number one complaints are our utility bills, which I don't like paying either. And the way for us to improve that, we have to expand our services to the adjoining townships, to the adjoining county. We do have plans in the works. The administration is working on that, but we also have, we have to get more growth. We have to try to find businesses that want to move into this area. We got to offer them tax incentives. By doing that, that offers more people to opportunity to get a better job, opportunity to build homes, move in here. We have good school districts, and we just have, our biggest problem is the cost of our utilities, the cost of running the city on 11,000 people. It's hard to operate with that limited budget. So we need growth, and we need to find more businesses to bring them here to get better jobs.
I really don't see one big problem. I'm more looking at there's a lot of problems a lot of little things we can tweak, but I don't really have one thing that I can really say that I feel that really needs change that much. I mean, overall the city's running pretty decent, but I think there's a lot of little things we could do to make things better.
I think the biggest obstacle that we face is like you both alluded to, Mark, mainly you hit the nail on the head, is growth. We need to find a way to grow, whether we continue to grow outside of our boundaries and annex more land into the city, attract new businesses, attract new people that want to live here. We just participated in a housing study that highlighted the needs that we have, and hopefully we can capitalize off of that study and attract some builders that want to come and invest in our community. We work with the Crawford Partnership and Gary Frankhouse on trying to attract new businesses, and we want to continue to do so. We want to bring good paying jobs here so that the people are living as high above the poverty line as they can. And I think if we can find a way to continue to grow, that will take care of the problem you addressed, which is the cost of utilities. If we spread that cost out over more people than what we have now, then that becomes less expensive for each one of us.
Council includes various committees during its operations. What committee or committees do you believe you have experience with the subject matter to be able to assist on that committee should you be elected?
My best one would probably be, because of my business, I'm plumbing, heating, air conditioning, probably the building and land committee probably be one of my top ones.
During my first term, I served as the chair of Health and Safety. I also served on the Planning and the Finance committees. Learned quite a lot in all three of those areas. I think from my former career as a paramedic, I can bring a lot of information to the table for health and safety, and I really would like to continue there. Finance, again, that's probably one of the, and not to say any one of the 7 committees is more important than the other, that's probably one of the most important committees to the functioning of the city government, to make sure that we've got the right amount of money in and the right amount of money going out. So those are the 2 that I feel that I probably bring the best to.
I'm currently on plating, and I'm also in the BZA. I have a fellow member here. Plating, if most of you who may or may not know, it is dealing with our zoning ordinances, basically with changing, if you want to change it to what district into a different district, as in industrial or commercial or residential, and that can be quite complicated at times. I like doing that one. It's very important to try to make it good for the people living in the neighborhoods, so that we maintain the area so that they're comfortable with that. Kevin said there's so many on there. Finances, very important. Health and safety is very important. All the committees are very important depending on what the situation is. I'm on health and safety also, and I think plating and health and safety and public lands and buildings and finance are the most important ones, in my opinion. I don't know, depends what happens. I wouldn't mind being on any or all of them, but I like to stay on the planning committee.
Tourism events such as the Bratwurst Festival, various car shows, and other events bring thousands of visitors to the city every year. How do you believe council can further expand on attracting visitors to Bucyrus to perhaps even have them consider it as a personal resident, a full-time residence, I should say, to move here?
One of the things that I'll say about the city of Bucyrus is they do work very well with the different organizations, whether it be the Bratwurst Festival, the police department with their car show. You know, the tourism bureau does a bike ride. Things. There's plenty of things that bring people to town, and it's easy to bring somebody to town. But when we see a beautiful downtown like we have now, people see that, and that's inviting and attractive to them. They want to stay. When they do their research, they want to look and see, you know, do we have good statistics on crime and good public safety statistics? You know, what's our ISO fire rating compared to where else they may want to choose to buy or build a house? You know, there's a lot of different aspects that the council can work with. But I think the biggest thing is just to find the overall way to make our community attractive, to take the people that are coming here for a reason and make them want to come back.
Never really gave that much thought. I mean, the way I see it right now, the city does a great job trying to bring the car shows and festivals and everything in. I'm not sure, that's something I'd have to look at, but right now I can't really tell you any one reason that what they could do to make it better, so that'd be something I'd have to look at further.
Like I said, they take all the good answers. We need to, I'm grateful to work with like the firemen here. We do help them. We help them move out to All Miller Park to do their spooktacular. We help with the Bratwurst Festival. We help with the car show. You know, we need to find a way to entice more people to come, and that's hard to do with a limited budget, but one thing that we're working on, as Kevin mentioned earlier, is the housing that we're working on, and if we can present better housing, and we're working on that. As with the BZA, we are trying to take care of the current areas, plus the BDSA, it's Board of Building Standards and Appeals, and that's the one where we, certain homes that are beyond repair that need to be taken care of, and we're trying to do that. And as you see on West Mansfield Street, there are several houses that have been taken care of. There are others that are in the works. That's hard for us to do because of the legalities in that. But we're always willing to work with the homeowners if they have problems. We have been talking about trying to find give a tax abatement. We're working on that, where we can give a homeowner to purchase a house that is in not good, at that great a condition, and the tax base will be at the current rate, and then if they increase the value of the house, they won't have to pay any more property tax on that for up to 15 years, whatever we decide to do on that. But that's a way to entice people to come in and purchase homes that are not in the greatest condition, but they're a sound home. And that could help people find a good home at a lower cost, and that they can put their sweat and tears into and money, and it won't be a burden on them. That's about all I can think of at the moment.
There are 3 school districts that are a part of the city of Bucyrus. Some residents in the submission of their questions mentioned kind of the varsity jacket mentality, maybe where we're very proud of this school and we're going to stay with this school and this and that. As someone who wants to be elected for the city, who represents at least a portion of all 3 districts, how do you feel the city can work with the local school districts that are in the city to better the schools as well as better the city?
Well, first of all, we support all the school districts. It doesn't matter if you're going to Winford, Crawford, or Bucyrus. I graduated from Winford. My children went here. They're all 3 are good school districts, and we don't show any. In my experience on the 4 years of being on council, we have not shown any bias towards any of the schools. We supported all the schools. I mean, of course, we're going to support Bucyrus mostly because it's most of the city. But we do support Crawford and Winford, as you see on our annex building next to the city hall. They did offer them to put their logos, all 3 school districts, on there. So we are showing camaraderie with them, and we weren't going to just put Bucyrus's logo on there. We wanted to include the county, the 2 school districts outside of the city. We just plainly support all 3 school districts.
Thank you for that question, James, because that's something that is near and dear to me. I graduated from Bucyrus. My children went to Winford, and as Marky alluded to, the Community Unity mural depicts all 3 of the schools that make up a portion of the city of Bucyrus. And I will say that our administration does a marvelous job of including them all. If you listen to the mayor's report that he gives during various council meetings, he'll mention that he had students from Colonel Crawford, students from Winford, as well as students from Bucyrus that visit City Hall or that he went out and spoke to. You'll also see that, as far as on council, we approve money to be spent in various ways, such as the school resource officer that was added here to the Bucyrus campus. But what many people probably don't realize is those resource officers are also available to Winford and Crawford. And when, for instance, they have an event for the 7th graders where they teach them how to manage money, and they go around and purchase a car and purchase car insurance and purchase a house. And Officer Stahl and Officer Mata were actually there at those events at Crawford and at Winford to just be seen, and so that their interactions with these youth that go to these other schools isn't always a bad thing. They were there in a friendly manner and getting to know the children, and I just think that that's really nice to see that as a community we do, because you're right, there is always has been and probably always will be a varsity jacket mentality, as you mentioned, especially with the new school buildings that have recently been built. I don't see any consolidation anytime in our future, and so I think we're doing the best we can to work with that, and I think we're doing a really good job at it.
To be quite frank, that's a topic I've never even gave consideration to. So, I mean, I think what we have to do is just treat all the citizens of the city exactly the same and support everybody, and I can't really see any other way to do it.
A bit along the same lines, but expanding a little bit. It was mentioned earlier working with the Crawford Partnership and things like that. How do you believe it is best able for council to work with other municipalities, other elected officials across the county to not only better the city of Bucyrus, but to try to better Crawford County as a whole?
I'd have to kind of repeat myself there. I've never really considered anything outside the actual city government, so that would have to be something I'd have to delve in and learn about and move from there.
You'll see with the street maintenance departments of the city working with other municipalities or the county highway department. They'll do some work for each other. They'll borrow equipment from each other. You'll see the fire department will use Galleon, and Galleon will use Bucyrus as mutual aid. So there is a lot of interdepartmental cooperation, whether it be on our public safety. We've got members of our police department that serve on the county special response unit team. So you'll see various instances where people from our city are working with people from other communities in Crawford County or with the county itself, and happy to see that.
You take everything. It pretty much is ditto. Yeah, we try wherever we can to help and work with the other cities. We have talked with, I do remember talking with the fire department, and Steve Piper out there was with me. We had information, we were bouncing ideas off of Galleon's fire department, and I don't know all of what, like, the administration does more communication with the other administrations, and we're in support of whatever we can do as council to work with the other cities.
As a member of council, how will you try to work for the betterment and in the interest of the first responder units in the city, whether they be city-owned or third-party contracted? For example, the fire department, the police department, or the EMS services that are provided in the city.
I think I bring to the table the fact that I worked for various ambulance services that served the Central Joint Ambulance District during my career. So I got to see that side of things. And then once elected to council, being the chair of health and safety, I represent the city of Bucyrus at the table with the Central Joint Ambulance District. So I've seen both sides of that now and have pretty extensive knowledge of the workings from both sides of that. As far as council, approving budgets, setting budgets, working to make sure that our police department, our fire department have the tools and equipment that they need to do their jobs. It's our job to appropriate the money. It's their job to figure out what tools they need. They're the experts in that, whether it be the police, the fire, or EMS. We just need to find a way to make sure that we are giving them the absolute best equipment that we can to do the best job that they can do to keep myself, my family, my friends, my neighbors, and you safe.
Yeah, this goes along with finding the resources, the money, the training. That's basically what our job is as council, is just to make sure that they have what they need to do their jobs. And, I mean, there's not a whole lot of answers you can give for this thing, so I mean.
He said it pretty well there. Yeah, we are here to, like Kevin said, appropriate the money to the proper department so they have the proper equipment. We are facing, the fire department especially is facing a need for new vehicles, especially the trucks. We may be needing 2 trucks, and those are quite expensive. So we have to find ways to get the money to the right departments so that we can have the proper equipment so that the fire department, the police department, as you notice, we had some pretty old cars for a while. Now we have newer ones. Now the fire department's going to be in need of new vehicles. So we have to find ways to appropriate money and use it the best way we can without trying to raise taxes, or we don't need to try to raise them. It's, unfortunately, it may have to happen, but we got to find any way we can to avoid that.
The demolition of many dilapidated houses in Bucyrus have left many green spaces and empty lots throughout the city. While the green spaces may be considered better than the demolished houses by many of the local citizens, what would you consider to be the best possible use of those lots?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, if we can offer them a tax abatement that they could purchase those properties and be able to build housing, or possibly, depending on where they're located, if we can put apartment type housing in there, as in townhouses, like 2 or 3 units. It also depends on the zoning. We'd have to look at the areas and where they're zoned at, and we may have to get input from the public to see if you would allow us, or if you're in favor, or get us ideas on what we can do with those properties. We're not, as I try to say, we're not a real estate agent. We're not here to buy land and try to sell it for a profit. So if we do have to purchase it due to the situation of that property, we would sell it to whoever would need that at basically the same price we bought it for, if it's going to be used for residential. For commercial, you know, we formed our, I'll say it wrong, what's the title for our CRA. When we form that CRA, we can transfer the property. Okay, CSE. We can transfer the property to that, and they can sell that and get it used in the correct way. So it's not going to sit there as a derelict building. It would be used by somebody without having to go through the bid process, and that would help us entice people to buy it and use it for a better purpose than an empty building.
We have, on a typical year in the city budget, enough money set aside to demolish somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 homes. And so a majority of the homes that you've seen over the last 3 to 4 years demolished were actually courtesy of the Crawford County Land Bank, not the city of Bucyrus, which some people may not understand the difference. Now, I serve on the board of directors with the Crawford County Land Bank, and one of the things that the grant that they pay for that with does is you have to have a suitable end user for the property. So if I tear down a property, we have to determine who the end user of that property is going to be. We don't want it to sit without an owner. So they look to see, first and foremost, is there a government agency that wants it, whether it be the city. So the city took a property down near the soccer fields in one of the homes that was torn down on Water Street. If you look across the street from Kroger's on Mary Street, the house that's getting ready to be torn down later this week, the Crawford County commissioners are going to take that. But if no government agency wants it, then the next step is to find an adjoining property owner that is not a landlord, that they actually reside in the property. And if one of them is interested, so for instance, a lot of people were familiar with the two homes that were torn down on Rogers Street a couple years ago. They split those two lots in half, and an owner on one side got half, and the owner on the other side got the other half, and they merged those parcels together, and now that person just has a larger yard. If there's no suitable owner next door, then the next step is they can put it for sale at fair market value, which a broker's price opinion is given on what that land's worth. So I tell you that whole story basically to say that it's not always the city's responsibility to figure out what's going to happen with the end use. If the city has a desire for a property, they might get first dibs at it. But typically a majority of these homes that you've seen that have been torn down already have another end user that is not the city involved.
I'm not a real big fan of all the empty lots around town. I'm not really sure that, I'd rather see homes there. I've been watching a lot of the homes that have been torn down, and quite a few of them I think could have been rehabbed pretty easily. I think we need to find some programs or some ways that we can rehab these homes and get people in them. I have a friend that actually said that he thinks the empty lots are like a smile without teeth, and I'd rather see homes there than empty lots.
With the construction that was being done on the All Miller Park pool, many residents feel that the closing itself, as a separate issue, showed one hole in the community with additional options for recreation for especially the preteen and teenage age groups in the city. What recreational options do you believe will be available to start by the city, or what existing options do you believe there are that could perhaps be improved upon?
I really don't have all the facts about the pool thing. I couldn't believe it was closed all year. I'm not sure what happened there, but I mean, there's committees, we gotta generate funds, just basically take care of what we have, I think, instead of trying to put new parks in. I think we've got plenty of parks, and I think our best bet's to do things with those parks and take care of them as best we can.
Real similar to your question about how to attract new people to town, I think the same concept applies here. There's a lot to do here that I think people don't realize. You know, we've got a skate park. You know, we've got plenty of different things for the youth to do and for all people to do. And I think rather than trying to build more new and different things, I think we try to capitalize on the things we have and maybe expand some of the things we have. But I think it's holding an event maybe at one of those areas to highlight that it's even there. You know, if you held a certain event at the skate park, for instance, or you know, when we finish the first stage of the bike path there on Friendship Lane later this year, you know, as you make people aware that these things exist, they're going to start to use them more.
You steal the thunder every time, you know that. I agree. We have plenty parks currently for the size of the city we have, the residents we have. Can we improve on them? Yes. What can we improve them with? That's what we need input from. We need input from the citizens to see what they like, what they want. We have ideas, but we need other ideas. We need input from the citizens. And unfortunately, as with most council meetings, we have two people who show up on a regular basis, other than the reporters. So, you know, we need to have more input. We wish more of the public would come to the council meetings. I mean, if you don't want to come to the council meetings, come to the committee meetings. That's when it's the most important. That's when we discuss items, and that's how we can come up with new plans for parks and recreation and other ideas and how we can fund this, or if we can get grants or other groups to possibly take control of an area and sponsor that to provide the services for the preteen and teenagers here in this city. Like I agree, we have enough parks, we have enough space. I think we just need to improve on what we have.
And to start to wrap up this portion of the evening, what is your overall goal for the city of Bucyrus?
My overall goal is to do what the citizens want. I'm their representative, trying to improve the city, as in getting more businesses here, offer the opportunity for the city to grow with residents, which we are working on with, we have land that has been approved for industry, thanks to Gary Bankhouse. We have other plans that we're working on to try to entice businesses here, and I'm mainly to represent the citizens, what their needs are, whatever comes up at that time, and what comes through throughout the year. Basically, to keep the costs down, to keep their taxes as low as possible, to keep the utilities as low as possible. Unfortunately, sometimes our hands are tied by the federal and state governments that we're mandated to do different things, and we don't have all total control over that, but we find other ways to maintain our current income tax rate so we don't have to raise that, trying to keep our utilities as low as possible so that we can provide the services needed.
Kind of like what Mark said is, my goals would be to continue to be a set of ears and to listen to what the residents have to say. Because when we sit on council, we are the voice that represents them. So I want to make sure that we maintain our availability to listen and to try to speak up for them when they're not able to. I also want to take a page from what I learned as a small child in the Boy Scouts, and that was to always leave, the campsite better than you found it. And that's not to say that when you got to the campsite, it was trash. So when I say that, I'm not saying that the state of the city currently is okay, but I want to leave it better for the next generation than how I came into it. And the only way to do that is to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep trying to attract business and attract residents, and leave it better than I found it.
Yeah, I believe overall the city runs pretty well. I see little things here and there that I think could be tweaked. Listen to the people, put my ideas forward, and basically talk to the other council people and find ways to do it.
And then we'd like to just offer this opportunity for a closing statement if you wish to give one.
Well, I'd just like to have a chance to work for the people of the city, and I think I can do a good job for you, and I'd be right there for you to come and give me your opinions of what we should do and what we shouldn't do, and I'll do my best to change the way things are run right now. Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my first term on council. I've done my best to answer every phone call, every text message, every email that I get. And I want to continue to do so. I ask for your vote this November to allow me to continue representing this city that I call my home, that I'm very proud to do.
I also am here to represent you, and that's why I'm running. I have been proud to serve the city for the past 4 years, and I'd like to continue doing that. But I'm here for you. I'm not here for myself. I'm here to answer your questions and your problems and take your suggestions to council and try to make this a better city.
At this time, I'd like to say thank you to the three gentlemen on the stage for taking time to come to this event, again hosted by the Bucyrus Firefighters Local 1120. And we will be taking a break before the mayoral portion of the evening. I'm sure the gentlemen will be sticking around to be able to talk to you afterwards. A big thanks also to everyone who submitted questions. These all were resident submitted questions. So we do appreciate everyone who took the time to submit those. And so don't shoot the messenger or the moderator. It's just, these are all resident submitted questions. But I do appreciate the three gentlemen taking their time, and we will take a short break and be back with the mayoral candidates.